Practo and Abhinav have sort of shaped the whole HealthTech culture in India.
So we ended up building the caller ID feature before Truecaller, where when a patient actually calls, it will actually show you who the patient is. You can click on it, it opens the patient profile, and doctor has all the information. Purpose of engineering is to make the business win, and the ROI of engineering has to be 100x, 1000x.
ChatGPT or Gemini?
Actually, right now enjoying Claude more. Everybody in my engineering team hates me for this, but I still enjoy PhD.
What do you like more, debugging or writing new code?
Debugging, yeah. Anyway. Fail fast, I think, is a wrong advice in Indian context.
Today we have Abhinav Lal from Practo. Abhinav is co-founder of Practo. He started Practo right from college.
Yes.
And I should say Practo and Abhinav have sort of shaped the whole HealthTech culture in India. Welcome, Abhinav. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jeet. Thanks for having me, and very excited to talk a little bit about what the journey has been.
Yeah. So, first question that I usually ask my guest is, you've worked with so many companies, and how has this journey been? And I looked at your LinkedIn; it was only Practo. Tell me about it. How did you think about starting Practo way back in college?
I actually don't have a very pinpoint reason, but in my head, at some point in my school days itself, I had this clarity that at some point I want to kind of start my own company in tech. I started writing code in 5th standard. That was first time I got introduced to Logo, if people remember that. And then that kind of became obsession for longest period of time. And when we got to college, the idea was always, I'm going to do the engineering at an IT Suratkal, join a job, work for 5-10 years, learn the trade, and then kind of go start my company. And then when we were in second year of our college, one of our seniors actually went to Stanford during summer for exchange. And by the time he got back, he was like Silicon Valley-fied. So he was like, entrepreneurship, this is the thing. So he started actually entrepreneurship club in our college.
Okay.
And he kind of put out these posters, and everybody was like, okay, this is a new thing, cool thing. And both me and Shashank actually applied.
Okay.
And we both got into the club. And then next 2 years was actually, that's where me and Shashank actually started working together, because we did a lot of work for the club. So
you met at the club for the first time?
We have met before, but like we were in the same class but different friend group, so didn't hang out much. We had one common friend, which is our third co-founder, Siddharth. He was the kind of the bridge between two of us. And then we joined the club. We did a lot of events, and I still remember we actually went to ISB for one of the events from our college. Overnight bus journey. You got there, event starts, you haven't slept the night, and there were like some talk, and I don't remember, somebody was talking and I literally fell asleep. And then the next talk was Ajit Balakrishnan from Rediff.
Okay.
He came on the stage and he started talking, and I was like, oh my God, who is this person? Right.
Yeah, okay.
And like Rediff at that point of time, this is 2007, I think, 2007. Rediff was like the tech company India had. And the way he spoke, it was like mesmerizing for me, right? And then after the event was done, I ran down, I went to Ajit, and I said, hi, I'm from NIT Suratkal, I'm doing B.Tech. He was like, I want to start my company. I was like, good, do your thing. And he left, right? He's like, who is this guy?
Have you spoken to Ajit after that?
I haven't had a chance. And then me and Shashank actually got back, and then both of us were doing our own thing. Shashank was trying out a bunch of ideas. I was actually working for a senior startup. So building his website, doing a bunch of work. But that was mostly to earn some money to party on weekends. And then at one point, me and Shashank kind of started getting a little more serious about it. And then Shashank's dad actually was undergoing this medical procedure, and he needed actually he found a great doctor in US who wanted some records and data about his dad's episode to really give a second opinion. And then his journey started of next 1 month, like going to the multiple doctors his dad has been through, hospitals, and trying to get the data. And you enter the hospital, and the doctor has this iMac, right?
Yeah.
And in front of his desk, and you're like, okay, this is the place I can. And he's like, can you send me the report on email? And the doctor is like telling Shashank, can you come see the software? Tell me how to send the email from this.
Oh, okay.
Right? And Shashank is like, okay, there's nothing I can do about it. He said, it's software written in maybe Fox Pro, if I remember correctly. And then we kind of started discussing that, you know what, this is one area where like healthcare was one area where technology was not really there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we just went and met a bunch of doctors, right? This was final year of our college. I actually didn't attend a single class in my 7th semester. I'm very thankful for my HODs for letting me actually pass the exams. But I spent most of my time in Bangalore. We met a bunch of doctors, and we started building the first version of product, which finally became Practo Ray. So that's how it started. And after college, we had an option, like both of us had a job, and we had an option to do the job. But at least for me, Shashank may have different reasons, but at least for me, it was very clear that I was having just too much fun.
Yeah.
And I was learning too much to really say that, okay, I'm going to go do this, join this consulting firm to go do some consulting work. So I decided, you know what, this is not. I convinced my parents that to give me 1 year, because they were like dead against it. They were like, what the hell are you talking about? This is 2009. That's when we completed college, right? The whole global meltdown has happened.
Yeah.
Half of like 20-30% of people in our batch, actually the job offers were rescinded. Right. And I went back home and said that, you know what, I'm not going to take the job. I'm going to go do my thing. And business as a concept like didn't exist in my family. Everybody was like, what is this thing? But I told them 1 year, I'm going to do this. After a year, if it's not working, I will go find a job. I think I can find a job.
A lot of people to thank for getting here.
Yeah. And then we just started, and 17 years later, we are still here.
Very cool. Okay. So, so this, I would say, did not start with a business plan, and this is not really, hey, this is a white space. This felt more like a personal need that emerged into something that could actually be big.
Yeah. So effectively, to be very honest, now in hindsight, when I'm gonna tell the story, and when I tell the story, it just sounds absurd. But in 2009, when we really looked at it, and at the very beginning, we had this vision. It was very clear, and it still exists, right? The hypothesis that we had was that the data is going to play a very important role in healthcare as we progress.
2009, nobody was thinking it. That was
people were thinking it, because the reason is that I'll tell you why. The two big tech giants, so Microsoft has a product at that point of time called Health Vault.
Okay.
They were trying to build that in US. And so there existed Google Health, which most people have forgotten about.
Okay.
And both these products were fundamentally built around saying that as a patient, I'm giving you a consumer product. You're going to come and you're going to upload all your data, and we're going to have that. And we looked at the product and we said that, no, this is the wrong way to build it.
Okay.
I don't know why we were so confident that, but we said the best way to actually do it is to get doctors to really create digital health records.
Okay.
And if you can aggregate that across all the doctors, then as a consumer, you will get this unified view about your health. And at some point, you will be able to use that data to really give actionable insight to consumers. And then when we came up with this hypothesis, we said that this is what we're going to build. But for us to really build this, we have to start somewhere, which is first to actually get doctors to use the software. At least in India, at that point of time, software adoption in healthcare was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
And then we said that we're going to build a software for doctors, and we're going to get them to use it. And our goal was always that this is not the product that we are selling to actually, which is the main business model for us. And this is how we're going to, it's a SaaS product. We built it on cloud in 2008, but we always knew that this is more to seed the network. And at some point of time, we will build the consumer product. That took us about 5 years to seed the network. And then that's when we started building the consumer product. But the hypothesis was very clear from very beginning.
Very good.
How to monetize we had no idea.
Okay.
Right? That took much longer. And we have been kind of true to that original vision so far. It's just that how we are approaching has changed multiple times.
Yeah, 2008, 2009, I think Android or touch phones had just come. Tabs were not there. So the first installations were all desktop installations.
Yes. So it literally what we used to do, when you buy Practo Ray, we will help you get the software. Some doctors had desktop already, some doctors didn't. We helped them actually buy the desktop. So we will recommend them. We had a vendor, you can buy it.
Very
And then we will
tempting to
buy
become a
them the
reseller.
Tata Docomo stick.
Oh, I like
Right, because not everybody had broadband.
Yeah.
So you'll buy the dongle from Tata Docomo, you will set that up in the clinic, and that's how it actually worked.
Okay. Entire Docomo worked well for this.
I mean, the application was fairly light, right, to
Okay.
begin with. And the people were just using for scheduling.
Yeah.
People were not really uploading X-rays and thing yet when we actually launched the product
Okay.
in 2008. They were mostly actually 90% of features was just around scheduling.
Appointment
Scheduling. How do I book
Okay.
appointment? And the way we built the product was we always build things which we knew patient will find useful. So a lot of our initial product features were never saying what doctor wanted. It was saying that what will a consumer find value in, because we knew that if a consumer actually comes and says, doctor, this is very good, the doctor is gonna be very happy with the product.
Oh, and you were charging the doctors?
Yes, we were charging. It's a SaaS product. We were charging a per month fee.
Yeah.
I think it was like 500 rupees per month is what the software costed at that point of time for a doctor.
Yeah. Right. I don't want to ask you how much you charge today.
It hasn't changed much. I'll be honest. It hasn't changed much. But that's not. That's now a smaller part of our business.
And the form factor has now moved to tabs for doctors?
The form factors is so one thing that is important to understand is that the usage of the product is a lot more the staff at the setup than the doctor themselves, right? So that's kind of 80% of usage, because people who are doing the billing, people who are doing the invoicing, people who are doing the scheduling, the doctor is not really doing it in most of the setups. So that's kind of where they're still using laptop and desktop for that. Tablet is something that we did build and we did support, but we never saw. Eventually, doctors actually prefer it on the phone. So actually, we see a lot, specifically doctors using the product is still completely on the mobile device.
Okay, all right. So there is an appointment scheduling. There is also a tele equivalent, if I can use that word, for doctors, and then there is doctors uploading these prescriptions.
Yes.
This is what Practo Ray is.
Yes.
And there are other products.
There are other products. So this is one of the product in what we have on the doctor side. Practo Ray is for smaller setups. So clinics generally use it. We have about 50,000 doctors around, maybe that's use it today. Then we have another product, software, it's called Insta, that came through acquisition in 2015. That's more as a ERP product for hospitals.
Okay.
That's a product which is, we have presence in India. So Apollo Clinics is a brand that actually uses it and runs on it.
And does the Apollo consumer app connect with this system too? Because that's one I have used.
Yeah,
sometimes.
It does connect. So we actually provide APIs to power some of the functionality on the app. But that's a product where the focus is a lot more outside of India. So we have customers in about 22 countries. So that's our B2B side of our business, which is SaaS solutions. So Ray and Insta sold to doctors at a subscription. And then we have, of course, the consumer side of the business, which is what most people know us for India, which is the appointment booking, online consultation, are the two core functionality. And of course, we do a little bit of medicine and diagnostics to close the loop on the platform.
Yeah. I thought diagnostics has become really big now.
So we don't do, we are more of we generally work with partners to do the fulfillment. We never actually decided never to build it ourselves. And the reason why we actually do it is that we can help the consumer close the loop. So at least in case of online consultation, if a doctor asks you for a test, you can actually book it that instantly from the app and somebody comes to your home. So we are trying to kind of close the loop, but not our core competence.
Now I'm assuming with online consultation, and this happened, I would say COVID time was probably when I used Practo for some online consultation. What was the regulatory shift that allowed this? When did that happen?
So actually, we launched online consultation in 2016.
Okay, cool.
Right, that was the first version of the product.
I want to ask you, what were your video call APIs?
Just the first version that we launched didn't have video. It was just chat.
Oh, okay.
We actually launched it, but a little later, maybe a few quarters later. This was built on top of Agora.
Okay.
This is a company which built maybe, and they had a very interesting concept because they actually built the world's first P2P video SDK. So every video solution that existed at that given point in time outside of Agora was unicast, right? So I'm talking to you and you're talking, the data transfer happens. They actually ended up building it as taking a lot of inspiration from Skype and building it as a peer-to-peer, which actually made it feasible for us to really launch it. Right, which made it possible that even but the big pivot, I think, in 2016 when we started seeing early adoption, two things happened. Of course, Geo happened. I think
a
that
lot of companies in India can attribute this success to
Geo happening, and I think UPI happened, right? So the online payments kind of people got a lot more comfortable doing it, and of course the network latency and data availability kind of became a lot cheaper. But of course that was a business which kind of was growing, but most of the consumers that were using the product were like forefront tech adopters, right? People who really wanted to try things. And of course, COVID is where it kind of really flipped because a lot more people actually got to experience it for the first time and really understood and saw the value that at least for smaller health needs, it's a lot easier to just do an online consultation. And I think that's the use case where we have seen a lot more traction.
All right. Let me switch tracks and see, and I don't get to ask everyone this. Two questions. How does your day look like now?
Okay.
And very interestingly, you have seen these probably multiple inflection points when you said, oh, at this point, I used to do this, and suddenly at this team size or this business size, I stopped doing this, and then my focus changed to this. That will be very, very interesting, and
okay,
a lot of learning, hopefully, for me.
All right. So let me maybe cover today, and then maybe I'll try to figure out how to structure.
Today you are spending time here.
Yeah, today I'm spending time here, but yesterday. So my day is more or less kind of fairly repetitive right now, which I like. I've gotten to a place. So one thing that we really want within the engineering culture is to have the people a lot more exposure to business.
Okay.
So my mornings, the first few hours, are mostly me attending a lot of different business huddles. Right. Okay. So this is either, since we have multiple business lines, there are daily stand-ups that are happening, which is cross-functional. So you have people from across different functions actually coming on a call, and we're actually discussing what's happening across the business, what are the priorities, which things are working, which are not working, so that coordination happens. So I joined some of them, not all of them, and mostly because the people reporting to me are the people I really push to actually attend those calls.
Okay.
So I kind of juggle around some calls and join some of them every once in a while to just kind of keep a tap on what's happening. Post that, I actually spend maybe an hour or so just going through metrics. I love doing
that.
That's
a
daily thing. Yeah, I'll just look at all the product metrics. I look at all the system services, observability, what's really happening across the system.
Do you have a bunch of monitors?
I only have one, but I do have we really do have a big TV screen on the floor where you can actually see most of the metric. But I am just trying to dig deeper and find, right? And generally, my goal would be that I will end up pinging 4 to 5 people on Slack by the time I'm done in that hour. But the idea is to kind of make sure that things that are happening across the thing, I'm getting some objective view of it and trying to kind of understand which are the places where I may need to intervene, right? Most good days are where I close the system and say, you know what, today was a good day. I didn't have to ping anybody.
What are your favorite business and engineering metrics?
So for engineering, the things that I really care about is error rates. That's actually that's one metric. That
API error rates.
API error rates, right? That's one metric I really look at, and then 95th, 99th percentile response times, right? Those are the two numbers that I'm like looking at it every day for cross services, how we are doing, and that kind of
this is as seen by your outbound load balancers, or these are internal services too?
This is internal services too.
Oh, very cool.
All right. So I'm looking at that, and then on the business side, actually, to be very honest, the number that there is only one number that really matters on how many transactions are happening right now. Are we doing better or worse than yesterday? Are we doing better or worse than same day last week? Right. So I actually literally have a graph which actually just shows me these three numbers: today's number, yesterday's number, and last week's same day number. And I'm just looking at saying, okay, is everything going well? And as long as the graph, today's graph is higher than the rest too, it's a good day.
Cool. And cost is not.
Cost is something that I actually don't have to worry about anymore. Thankfully. So what we learned, so we have been on cloud. We went on AWS in 2010.
Okay.
Right. So we were on cloud from the day we could. I think the Singapore region launched and we were there a few months later. And as we build the systems and as we scaled it and as the company scaled, one of the things, and this is maybe 2015, 2016, I realized that this is one thing that can get out of hand very quickly. And it did get out of hand very quickly, right? Big team, lot of people. And we always had this philosophy that to have a lot more access to a lot more people. Of course, a lot of this was built through systems, right? So now you're not really doing things through AWS console. We're doing it through a layer that we have built on top of it to have some controls. But still, right, like people are like, okay, I'm going to like launch this new service, new database. And then you see the cost. And then a lot of times what I learned over the period of time is that it's just the visibility that really matters. So we actually have our own internal deployment tool. We ended up building that back in 2013 because we couldn't really find anything in the market.
2013 was Puppet Chef time. Maybe Ansible was there.
Ansible was there, right? So not a lot of end-to-end solution. You really have to like piece things together yourself, which we ended up doing ourselves, and we ended up building the system. And it's been, I was actually looking at the numbers. Somebody just pinged me a couple of weeks back that we just hit, we have now done 100,000 production deployment using that tool.
Nice.
Right. So that's kind of a milestone for that product. And then we ended up building that. But one of the things that we ended up adding a lot of features on top of that internal product, right? That was not just for deployment, but one of the things that we ended up adding is that you can actually see cost of every service in that system. So you can go and you can click on a service and it will give you actual real number saying that your service is costing this much.
This is per hour, per day.
Per day. Right. And then we actually rank them. So that's the best way to kind of solve for it. We actually have a grading system for services. So we actually grade services on A to F. Cost is actually one of the factors. Error rate, your response time, and a bunch of other things that actually goes into the thing. And after that, it's been like I actually don't really have to worry. Like team actually comes to me now, which is where I wanted to be. Saying that, you know what, can I go and delete this thing because this is costing a lot of money. I think this is a better. So that problem for us over years kind of got very ingrained in our culture. That everybody has visibility. That every service that you own, how much it is actually costing, and if the cost actually goes off whack any given point of time, they come to know very, very quickly.
This is amazing. Most founders would love to have that culture. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so I interrupted you on the, business meetings, then matrix review.
Yeah. Then mostly the next few hours is spending time with product and specific engineering teams. This is mostly solutioning discussions, architecture discussions, some of the larger projects that we are running to kind of have a discuss. My role in most of these meetings these days is to justify some of the older decisions I have made and why they suck today and why do we really need to rewrite them. But jokes aside, I spend a bunch of time there with the team, right, on things that they're working on, spending some time doing some review. Most of the days I try to keep my evenings a little bit of just emails and Slacks and kind of making sure I respond to things. And then I still try at least to spend half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour writing code.
Oh, you can? Very cool.
I am building prototypes. I'm not writing production code. Very rarely I get to write production code. And that's because at least I have always maintained a very strict policy that the code that you wrote, you have to support it.
Yeah.
So I try my best these days to not write a lot of code because I have to support it, and that's difficult to take out a lot more time. But right now it's an exciting time, and I think I'm actually spending a little more time writing code. A lot of vibe coding,
Yeah.
seeing things on how far you can push LLMs.
Yeah.
So I will just pick some ticket from Jira and say, can I prompt this feature,
Yeah.
and how far can I get it to really build the feature end to end without actually kind of touching meaningful amount of code.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come back on the vibe coding part, but I want to talk about those inflections first
Inflections,
because
yeah. So I would say there has been maybe four major points if I really kind of break it into the story and they say which are the chapters. Of course, the first chapter was when we were bootstrapping. We were 8 people. There were only 2 roles.
these are all batchmates.
These are all batchmates, 8
Okay.
people's. There were only 2 roles in Practo at that point of time. Very simple. Either you code or you sell. That's it. There's
Somebody
nothing.
told me dev or rev.
Yeah, there's nothing else. So those first few years were just writing code. Like most days we were writing code 14 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Okay.
and we did that for maybe 3 years continuously. And it was tremendous. It was like learning as fast as you can. There was also the time period I have made every single technical mistakes that you can make in building product. Now reflecting back, but that was very good. And then we started kind of expanding the team, right? The business kind of got to a scale where we could have had more people. So that was the second phase, I would say, from 2011 to 2014.
Okay.
I grew the team from 3 of us who were writing code to about 25 people.
All right.
That phase was actually just kind of 2 things. One, kind of figuring out how to build the team. We were still bootstrapped, I think, and then we raised a small amount of seed funding from Sequoia, now peak 15. But we were still very frugal, right? So what used to happen is that everybody I used to like in the interview, we couldn't afford them. Like they will tell the salary and I'll be like, why did I waste my time? There is no way I can pay this. And the people I didn't, people who I could afford, there's a conversation I have. So then I learned that I really need to find out what's the thing. And that's the period where I realized how to build really the team. So I had 25 people reporting directly into me. There were no managers, all were developers. But that was a phase where I learned how to actually hire the right people and how do you kind of test for culture and the right balance of skill to really build a more cohesive team. How do you get 25 people with very strong opinion? Because one of the things that I really tested for during the interview process, how to get 25 people to actually work every day on things that are most important. At the same time, actually move fast, right? Because at the end of the day, we were still kind of discovering the product, right? The B2B side, Ray already had some traction. We had about 10,000 doctors already at that point of time using the product. But we had just launched the consumer side and we were still kind of figuring out what does a doctor discovery and appointment booking product actually looks like.
Did you separate out multiple squads at that point?
Yes, by that time. I think by the time we had 3 squads. So one which was working on the B2B product, kind of spending all the time, the SaaS software. There was a squad which was focused completely on the consumer side, building what became Practo.com today. And I had always had a small team. We didn't know what to call it at that point of time, but what you will call a platform engineering team today, which was managing infra, but more importantly, building a lot of common things which can be used by both the squads.
That's where the deployment tool came.
That was the deployment tool came. That's where we moved our authentication into a separate service so that can be used. You have so today, and we did that in 2012. We were like, the doctors need to have 2 different accounts to use both the products. So we moved that out. Then we ended up building what we call Communicator, which is a common layer to manage all SMS, email, push notification. So a bunch of these building blocks of our platform
Yeah.
were actually being built. That became the foundation of how rest of the product got built on top of it.
Okay. So turn
Then this is the second
9
phase.
to 11, then 11 to 14. Yeah,
14, and then
25
11 to
people.
15 is the phase where we grew the team significantly.
Okay.
We went to about, at our peak, about 400 engineers.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
In 3 years.
in 3 years, and for us, that was a phase for me to learn a lot on how to really run engineering team. Couple of things that I learned. First is that I can't really know everything. I can't really manage this myself. And then we got a bunch of other people who actually came, and then for me to really figure out how to be what you would call a manager of managers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like a completely different ball
Who was the
game.
first manager you hired?
Actually, a bunch of managers in Practo were homegrown.
Okay.
But we also hired a set of people. I'm just trying to remember this. Maybe 2014, 15.
Yeah.
There used to be a guy called, I think Vikrant maybe would be the first person that we hired. He's at LinkedIn right now, heading their ads team. But that's the people we kind of ended up bringing, and then kind of managing the things and kind of driving and figuring out how to really run a very scale team across multiple business line and geographies. And the fourth inflection point, the reason I call is kind of, I did a side quest in between. So after COVID in 2022, I've been running the engineering team for a long period of time. One of our businesses, which is our SaaS business outside of India, was doing okay, but not really that well. And the person who was heading it was leaving.
Okay.
And me and Shashank had a conversation, and I was like, you know what, I want to do something different for some period of time. So I actually stepped away from engineering, and I ran that business for 2 years. So I hired somebody to head engineering. I hired a CTO for the first time from outside. That individual took over. I kind of removed me as far as I can, because I realized that if I am even in the vicinity, I will keep stepping into the foot, me being me. And then I spent the next 2 years just being out in the field, going and selling the product, meeting customers, figuring out what next to build and how do I turn that business profitable. I think the day that business became profitable is the day also the person heading the engineering team said that I want to leave. Just coincidence. And then me and Shashank were having a discussion that we should hire somebody else, or what should I do. And then this is the period, this is like about November, December of last year. And the whole AI thing was actually kind of starting to get it.
22, correct time.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what, I should come back. This is just too tempting to be far away from it. Like I am anyway, like reading and writing code every day. Apart from running the business, I will rather go back and just do the thing and figure out this new phase and wave that we have in tech right now. How do we really kind of capitalize on that?
You started at exactly the right time.
Yeah.
And were you traveling a lot at that point?
I was spending at least 70% of my time outside of office.
Okay.
All right. So once the COVID thing in 2022 kind of subsided and travel became a problem, every month I was, and since this was our SaaS business outside of India, specifically in Middle East, I spent most of my time actually in Middle East, in Dubai, in Saudi, kind of spending time with customers and trying to figure out how to grow that business.
You know most of the doctors in
I know a lot of doctors in India, but also in Middle East.
Very good. So we'll get back to this. 22 whole GenAI thing was starting, and you said you were also doing a lot of vibe coding. How does Practo as a company use these tools, and is there anything that's also in your consumer product today?
So let me actually maybe cover internal first. Internal, we're using it quite extensively, and specifically in tech a lot. I think there are 2-3 use cases where I think there is a lot more maturity now in the last year or so we have seen. The first is, of course, the code generation itself. So standard things like Cursor, Cloud Code, and we're seeing more and more people kind of adopt it. And we actually run a track where we actually kind of share things. We actually now has a repository specifically for GenAI tips and tricks.
Okay, cool.
How to generate cursor rules and how to write good rules file, how do you do code generation, how to prompt, what's the good way to prompt, different prompting techniques. A lot of that is documented there. And there we have actually seen quite a good adoption. And more importantly, we have seen meaningful amount of increase in the throughput. Of course, it's very difficult to measure it. So I don't have exact numbers, but to me, it feels like that 30 to 40% we have definitely improved in terms of throughout output of the team.
At least there is a perception of increased velocity.
Yeah, perception of, like, you don't know for sure, but like depending on how many features we are shipping, how many pull requests, you get some sense. But of course, then you don't have the exact numbers. Code reviews is another area where we have found a lot of value.
Yeah.
So now every pull request is also code reviews by AI.
Yeah, you don't need an architect to look at it, everything.
No, you still need them. I wouldn't say you don't need them, but you definitely, I have at least found, right, the things that I would have missed for sure, the AI is able to track. And that attention to detail, no human can have that at all given point of time, right? So the code review quality for any engineer is a graph, right? Like which side of the bed I woke up today morning and what I had for breakfast can kind of change the quality of code review that ends up happening.
What are you using for code reviews?
We're right now using CodeRabbit. We had a fairly good experience with them so far. So that's kind of the second piece. The third piece is that I have forced all our product managers to not write PRDs to begin with, but actually create things in Replit or Bolt or Lovable, whichever they prefer, and actually bring that idea to life in some form, and then come and talk about what we want to build. And that has been very very
a lot of clarity of thought.
Yeah, like 10-page PRD documents nobody wants to read, but when somebody comes and says this is what I want to build, it's like so clear. So that's another area where we are seeing actually a lot more value. That's happening. So that's on internally, and of course bunch of other use cases. Externally, we have a bunch of product in works. Some of them we haven't really launched, so I can't talk about. But at least one thing I can talk about is on our actual main consumer app, we actually have a chatbot today that you can talk to about health. This is actually we have built it painstakingly over the last 1 year. The goal here is effectively what we realized, and this is learning that has been over the last decade or so. A lot of time when you have a health issue, right, most of us actually want to get to a place where ab doctor ke paas, like this is the time I have to go, right? But there is a long period of time where you have this doubt, right? And what you really want to know is the severity. Is there something like office jao, nahi jao, if I just rest for a day, theek ho jayega. So you always have that back of your mind. And the product that we have built is actually helps you understand the severity. Saying that, you know what, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just drink hot water, take some rest. 3 days, if thing are still not recovered, then you can go to a doctor. So that's when you have that nagging thing in the back of your mind and you really want to get some concrete answer. And the reason why we have seen consumers actually love the product and we really felt that there is a need of such a product is that if you really go to Google and start searching, the answer on 99% of cases is cancer, right? So that's the product we are trying to kind of saying that you don't really have to worry. And now we are finding a lot more other use cases. Like when you book an appointment, we actually give you a bot where you can actually talk about your symptoms. And we have seen one of the things that people are actually finding really helpful is the bot actually tells you the questions to ask to doctor. And that really people find it very valuable. And then after the consultation is done, you still have the companion which actually kind of you can talk to about. But there we are actually trying to kind of improve adherence. How do we help you recover faster? Because health outcome is where we have realized is the true value of healthcare lies. If you can actually move that needle on health outcome, there is a lot of value created in the ecosystem.
And do doctors get sort of, since I would say there is already this data collection, very important data collection that has already happened
Yeah.
with chatbot. Do
Yeah.
doctors get a summary of some kind?
Yeah, actually, we just went live 2 days back, so I
Okay,
don't
cool.
really have a metric but we will know. But at least my conversation with all the doctors, they will find they are really excited about being able to get a much comprehensive summary of the patient they are about to see.
And a very obvious question, maybe others have asked you this. Um, the doctor's prescription, are they more legible now that you have
Yeah.
all of
So,
these models?
doctor's prescription. I think we are there. We are almost there. I think this problem is not going to exist in a few quarters' time.
No, no,
But we have
people are still
actually.
writing. I'm not saying people. You get people to type on a computer and then problem is
Yeah,
solved.
so we have actually gotten doctors to type a lot more.
Okay.
But the thing that we are very excited about, and we're piloting in some places, is actually just recording the conversation between doctor and patient and just creating the prescription.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was thinking, hey, is there a place for something like a whisper flow in your
yeah,
systems?
yeah, it is. And I really hope I'm not gonna put some timeline because the team is gonna hate me that I'm going publicly and talking about timelines. But I'm really hope
You
that
don't want to be Elon Musk.
yeah, but hopefully sooner rather than later we should have that available in a product where we do it post facto already today, and that's
Okay.
fairly accurate because we used to have our medical team actually do audit of every online consultation that happens in Practo.
Okay.
Right. Of course, not every because the volume is just too high. So you're doing some level of
Quality
sampling.
control is needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it has. Now we do 100% of consultation audited through AI.
Okay.
So we are of course transcribing each consultation, and then we are actually extracting what happened, what symptoms were talked about, what diagnosis doctor said, what medicines were prescribed, and then we actually kind of look at that data, and then we have our own eval which actually rates it. And that gets collated across doctors. Some of that goes back as feedback to doctors so that they can actually improve. They find it very useful coming from our medical team. But so the tech part of it is more or less, we see that it's almost at like 99% or more accuracy. It's now just about how do you productize it in real time as the conversation is happening.
Oh no, this could be big if those transcripts can just be used for prescription.
Yeah, and the flow of the consultation doesn't break, which is very interesting, right? Like doctor can just talk, explain things, and they don't have to do any paperwork. There's tremendous value. There are a bunch of companies now doing it, of course, but I think the core technology has reached the point where it's very much possible. We tried it about 8 years ago. It was very flaky. So we have tried this multiple times, every 2-3 years. I think finally we got into a place where the tech is there to really make it happen.
Are you still on Agora for your online consultation?
Yes, we are. We are still on Agora for our online consultation.
And the Agora allows you to do this sort of transcript, or allows you to have these plugins. So these are Agora generated.
No, these are things that we have built on top of it. We have access to the real-time stream, but everything else is our own custom thing on top of that.
Okay, very cool. Okay, that brings me to your earlier comment that the first 3 years you made all sorts of technical mistakes that you could, and you also said, hey, I have to go back and explain why did I take this decision earlier. So 2 questions there. What's the worst bug that you have shipped?
Okay.
The second one is what bug or incident sort of has had a large impact on how you design code and organization?
Yeah. Bugs, actually, to be very honest, bugs in code, I don't have very good examples. But at least the things that I have screwed up in infrastructure side on production servers, I have quite a few.
Okay.
I can tell you one. In 2011, one day morning I woke up. I was doing some development. I had the production database open on one terminal, and I had the local open on another terminal. And I wanted to just change the password of the account for a local machine. I was working on some accounts related thing, and I rather than doing the thing, I just went to database and I said, update password, the salt, and the password and the hashing, and I just pressed enter. And I was like, okay. And then I went, got a coffee, and then I came back, and then my phone is just going pause anchor, and everybody's calling, and then people are like, we can't log in. I'm like, what has happened, right? And I'm like, did we deploy something last night? Something is broken. And then I like, and I'm like, okay, let me try logging in. And I'm for me it's working, and I'm like, okay, this is working for me. Like something is weird. And then the other person in my team, I asked him, and he's like, no, my login is also not working. And then it like hit me like 10 minutes later.
Did you change for everyone?
I just changed password for everyone on the production server for all the users. And I was in panic. I was like, what the hell did I just do? And what do I do to solve this? And then I was like, what is this? Like, I have to tell every single user now to reset their password. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be very painful. Like, how do I even tell them? And then, like, after a few minutes, I realized that, okay, I don't really have to panic. This is 8 a.m. in the morning. I just went to the backup. I saw the last backup was at like some 6 a.m. I was like, okay, I can fix this.
Yeah.
So then we actually restore from backup, change everything back again. At least the users who have signed up in the last 2 hours kind of couldn't help them. They had to like reset their password.
Yeah.
That was like the worst thing I have done in production ever.
What controls have you put?
Actually, we don't have. So in practice, actually, we ended up building a lot of that controls over the years.
Yeah.
Because we had to, right? Since we deal with healthcare data, we really wanted to ensure that privacy is kind of baked into the product at the very core of it. So now actually nobody has access to production databases. You really have to jump through 5 hoops to actually get there. If you really want to access to the main right database, people have access to read replicas, and even then, in most our cases, actually most people don't even have access to that. The data pipeline that we run actually mask all PII.
Okay.
And then kind of that flows into our data warehouse, and most people actually use that. And if you really need to have access to the production database, we actually again built an in-house tool. It's a very simple application. You put in the reason of why you really need, including the support ticket, because most of the time you're actually needed for support. You say which database, which table, which columns, and then you submit a request. Somebody approves it. You get access for 4 hours. You can go into a place where you only have a read access to the database. You can run a bunch of query to see if you really need to debug something, and then after 4 hours the access is auto revoked. So that's kind of the tool we ended up building over time, just so that we don't make this mistake. I don't think we learned from after the first one. I think the second time somebody else in my team dropped the whole database, and I think after that was the second time, and after that we kind of learned our lesson.
Would you also use this example to say this has changed how you design systems?
Actually, there are a couple of other things which have kind of has been very core on how we really design. At the very core of our design philosophy, very early on became saying that just assume that everything is going to fail. And because we saw everything fail. I still remember there used to be this thing in Practo, early days of Practo, at least for the first 5 years, that every time I will take a vacation, the system will go down. Like 100%, it had the 100%. I used to take like one vacation a year, right? And every single time I will take that vacation, something major will actually break. I still remember after college got done and we moved to Bangalore and we started working on the thing, I didn't take one for 2 years, and after 2 years I finally went home for the first time. And then the SMS gateway that we were using at that point of time to send SMS, because appointment reminders were actually one of the core functionality that we had at that point. That company shut down.
Oh,
right. Overnight.
The company shut down. Okay.
So next morning the SMS have not gone, and team is trying to figure out what happened, and they're looking at it, everything, and finally we figured out that the APIs are not working, and then they try to reach out to the people, and they're like, oh, we shut down. We don't exist anymore. And then you're like, okay, so what do we do? And the whole code around how SMS actually work, I have written it. Like nobody has even looked at that code ever, right? Because we were just three people. None of us actually looked at each other. There was no code review. There was no formal processes at that point in time. So nobody has any idea how the code works. I am in my hometown at a temple, at a puja with my family. I get a call, and this 2011. I still don't have a smartphone, and I am literally from my memory telling people which files to open and which lines to go. So I'm like, go to this file, line number 25. I think you will see there is this HTTP request that is happening. Can you tell me what it is? And then I did the debugging. About an hour it took me, and then we moved to a different SMS provider. I think this was Gupshup. This was very early days of them, and then after I came back from the vacation, I said, you know what, we're going to build redundancy everywhere. Like we assume that everything is going to fail.
Yeah, Gupshup got you up and running.
But then we said that no, we will have to have multiple providers for everything. Everything that we build has to be auto scaled from day one. Right, the database will always have, right? Because at that point of time, it hadn't really hit me. Maybe other people in the team had gotten there. That every time something broke in our system, like literally hundreds of, actually at that point, thousands of clinic actually stopped working.
Yeah.
Right. Like doctors will call saying that, you know what, I had 50% of my patient didn't show up today. And I was like, what happened? Your SMS didn't go. Like people got so used to that if you don't get a reminder from the doctor, you will say that appointment hai nahi, I'm not coming. And then billing is stuck. Right, doctor is saying that I'm not able to print the prescription, right, and it was crazy. And then we kind of understood how critical the product had become in people's life. And then kind of that became a core philosophy of everything that we build has to assume that it is going to fail, and then if it fails, how do you recover?
Give me an example of this kind of philosophy working out well in a disaster scenario.
Let me actually think of some good one. So I can actually give you a fairly recent one actually, which is a good one. Very recently, actually, so for all our UAE customers, our application is actually hosted in UAE because of regulatory requirement. One of the days, our whole system went down, and it went down because one of the regions on Azure actually went down. The whole region, the whole UAE North region was actually down. They had some thing that went wrong in their cooling system, and the whole thing really shut down, literally. And we had no idea.
This was not the data center flooding. That was Google.
This was just, it was actually a false alarm. So effectively, at least what I understood from the RCA that came later, that the temperature sensor that actually existed within the data center actually was faulty. And it was actually showing the temperature to be higher. And the default protocol is that if the temperature actually goes beyond a point, you shut down everything. Right? Because you're trying to save it from melting. But what happens is that once you shut down everything, bringing back up online is not a button, is what I learned. Right? It takes multiple hours. And we were lucky, and the way we have built the system over time, that we were able to, even though we didn't have an active thing in the different, we were able to say, hey, we can actually get thing up and running in UAE South on Azure, and we should be back and running, right? Of course, we didn't really have to do that because eventually Azure itself fixed it. But to be very honest, a lot of time actually went in just figuring out, because we were not even sure the whole data center has actually just gone down. We're like, we broke something for the first 1 hour because we are not able to access. And after an hour, we finally figured out when Azure actually updated the status page that the whole thing has gone down. This is like 6 months back.
We are talking about some of these designing for failure working out for you. Apart from that, are there other key engineering achievements that you are particularly proud of?
It's engineering. I think there are maybe top two, three things that really kind of has stuck. One of the thing that I really feel we got right in very early days, like we actually started working on our Android application and iOS application in 2011.
Okay.
Right.
That's pretty early.
And yeah, and to be very honest, there are not a lot of references on how to actually go about building the application. Because and of course we were doing it for our B2B product, because a lot of doctors were actually now starting to use smartphones, right? They were like early adopters and they were very happy, and they were like, why don't you have an app in there?
And you didn't have one for BlackBerry at that point.
We didn't have anything.
No
for BlackBerry.
Symbian and stuff. Okay.
And then when we saw the what was happening on Android and iOS, it made a lot of sense to actually be able to build that. But I think the first 1.5 years, the product that we ended up building, I'm actually very proud of, because we didn't have a lot of references on how to really build a product. Like it was, and that application is even live today. And the core in the foundation of it is still the same, right? Because we really had to build a completely offline application.
Yes.
Right. You couldn't really say that the internet was still very patchy. So you're actually building a completely offline, full SaaS practice management solution. Very data heavy, because a lot of our customers have like 20,000 patients, 50,000 patients, 100,000 patients. And the phones at that point of time were not really the phones of today. And you have to say that, okay, I'm going to like download a database with maybe a little over 1 million records, and I'm going to run that locally on this device, and the experience has to be smooth. And we ended up building a bunch of things which are just ridiculous on how we build the initial sync, because we said that, you know what, when you download the app and you log in for the first time, the default experience when we built it the first time was that you download the app, you log in, and you keep the phone onto your side, and you come back after maybe 45 minutes. Okay. Right. Because the 45 minutes is when the initial sync actually runs. And then we had to really build a sync engine saying that I want, like, and Shashank, credit to him, he said that, no, I want the app to be usable in the first 1 minute. Okay. And I was like, I have no freaking idea on how we're going to do that. But then we ended up building it. We ended up actually, in the next 1 month, we actually built a full sync engine, which kind of understand what is the data which needs to be prioritized, how do you really sync it, if the user actually starts using the product, how do you really do it? And it has like all these weird edge cases, right? So I still remember this so vividly. You build the whole thing, that we will do the initial sync, we'll sync the most recent 100 patients, and then everything will happen in the background. But then we will see the app being used, and the app will be like stuttering, right? Because of course we are like running full-blown sync in the background. And then once the data is, and you're trying to operate on the same table, this is a SQLite database running on that device, and it's like just killing the phone, literally. Like the phones will heat up, like you can make an egg on top of it. And then we have to say, no, we have to really like batch it, really have to separate it into different streams. You really have to actually create a temporary table in which the current things that are happening are being saved. Then you have to figure out a way of merging it. How do you do conflict resolution? How do you prioritize it? How do you surface if there is a conflict, because this is a multi-user environment? So I think there's 6 months of like crazy engineering and trying to figure that out. And then finally getting to a place where it just worked, right? Like you can download the Practo Ray app and log in, and you start using the product in less than a minute. Even if it's offline, you can do whatever you want to do. The data will actually sync up whenever the connectivity comes. So we ended up building a lot of those initial building blocks, because of course it was. And now today, if you really have to build it, there are like 15 libraries you can find who can actually help make your life easier. We had to like hand code every single experience in that thing. And build a bunch of things. Like we built a caller ID feature in 2012 on Android. Most of our doctors actually came back saying, hey, I have only 2 options. Either I add all the patients in my contact book, then my contact book is a mess. Or I don't have it, and the patient calls and I have no idea who the patient is. But I really don't want to like ask them a lot of
Yeah.
details, right? Who you are. So we ended up building the caller ID feature before Truecaller, where when the patient actually calls, it will actually show you who the patient is. You can click on it, it opens the patient profile, and doctor has all the
Okay.
information. So those were kind of thing. I think when we built the whole, the online consultation was one thing where I felt when COVID happened. I still remember when the first lockdown happened, right? We doubled the number of transaction every day.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
then, and at its peak, we were at 40x from pre-COVID. And we did not go down for a single day. We actually,
That
of
itself is
course,
good.
we had to send patients back because we ran out of doctors.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough doctors. That was the constraint. But at least tech-wise, we were able to kind of make it work. And people worked like crazy. Like I still remember like the 4 or 5 months. Like everybody was like pulling off like 17, 18 hours every day to just make sure we don't really break the experience for consumers.
What does the tech stack look like, which is kind of done this?
The tech stack at Practo has kind of changed and evolved and morphed quite significantly over the years. So I will say there are like two phases of Practo. The first phase of Practo, where the original applications, Practo Ray, the first version of Practo.com, a bunch of these things, all of that was PHP.
Oh, very
Right.
cool.
So I wrote everything in PHP because that's the language I was most comfortable with. Fresh out of college, it was easy language.
Yeah.
Facebook was on PHP.
Yeah.
It had some cred behind it. And then we ended up building that product. I think after that, when we started breaking things up as the scale happened, today the tech stack is mostly, most of the services are Java. We still use relational database for most of our use cases. MySQL. Generally, our philosophy has been if you have built a lot of institutional depth of knowledge in a particular stack, just see if you really need something else. We use DynamoDB for some specific high throughput use cases, Elasticsearch for search, React on front end. All our applications are native. Because we built most of them before React Native existed, or any framework actually existed for a matter of fact. And everything runs on AWS, on Kubernetes. Pretty much like fairly standard things.
The B2B side is on Azure.
B2B side is on Azure because when we launched there, AWS hadn't launched. And we have been a little lazy in doing that migration. But of course, if anybody from Azure team is hearing, we are still there. That's the only part which is actually there. The Practo Ray, the product that we have for India, is also on AWS because we actually
desktop part still exists. There is some VC++ there.
No, we don't really have C++ anywhere. We have a bunch of Scala in a lot of places that we experiment with in some period of time. But I think that's the only other language that we really...
So the doctor or the hospital staff, clinic staff that is using the product is either an Android iOS app or it's a web.
It's a web. Like everything is like completely web based. So when we launched in 2008, we actually kind of decided that we're gonna build everything like cloud. I mean, it wasn't called cloud, but at least online. And we're gonna build it on a subscription model. So those were the two decisions we took on very early. And then one of my other co-founders, Siddharth, right? He actually he was really good at front end. He interned at Opera. He had like really deep understanding, right? Opera as a browser at that point of time was kind of cutting edge. This was before Chrome. So he and that gave me a lot more confidence. I was always like really bad at front end code. I had very poor design sense. But Siddharth was like kind of there, right? So that was our combination. I wrote everything in back end. He wrote everything in front end, and that's how we actually building most of the application.
All right. Okay. And this is the tech stack. What does the data stack look like, and what are the challenges there?
So the data stack in Practo right now is mm, everything is flowing through Kafka. So either it is coming from the transactional system, standard CDC pipelines on the Bayesium kind of flowing through that, and then there are a bunch of Airflow jobs and things that are pulling data from other SaaS solution and a bunch of other places. All of that flows into now Apache Hudi Lake, and then on top of that you have a bunch of Airflow jobs running, and that's getting transformed and being pushed into Redshift for some of the final powering a bunch of dashboard and a bunch of things. For us, the more in part of the scale of data pipeline had been how do we create and provide access to everybody within the organization of all the data without really compromising on the privacy part of the data, right? So how do I ensure, because that was something that we always had a real struggle with in the beginning, that how do I actually really make a data-driven culture within the company and everybody having access to all the data without actually really anybody having access to actual personal data of consumers. And that has been the part where we have spent a lot of time and how we really build our systems, right? So everything is built by mask by default. You have to really have a reason to unmask something and justify it. So everything that is flowing through this pipeline, we actually have our own bunch of transformers that everything flows through, which looks for PII data and transforms it. So that has been kind of a little challenging on how do you really find a good balance between what data we like allow people to have access to, but at the same time ensure that nobody has access to any actual medical data.
Okay, so it is more a privacy and access problem and not really scale data management problem for you.
Yeah, it hasn't really been a scale data problem for us. I think the some of the simple stupid choices that we have made on not making it very complicated has been a little helpful. Of course, there are like standard problems, right? Pipelines breaking and then you're having to go and fix it. A lot of times reporting numbers being wrong and then you're not really knowing where things have broken. Those standard problems still exist. How do you have better testing of data pipelines? That definitely has been a challenge. But they are more, at least how I see it, maybe the team will not agree with me, I see them more as annoyances than problems that we really have to get to and fix them.
So early on we talked about you making 3 squads. One was looking at B2B, one was looking at sort of customer product, and another you defined it as a platform team. So this told me you were sort of already looking at how you build for long term. At the same time also have your immediate business priorities, because you're attending, your first half of your day is attending all business meetings. What does that philosophy look like today? How are these teams organized, percentages given to more long-term bets or things that may or may not pan out? How does that look like today?
So the team today, right now in Practo, is actually going through a transformation. So maybe it's
There's
good
a
time.
fifth inflection point then?
Not really. Actually, we went to a very different structure during COVID, and I think it has taken us some time to kind of move back from. During COVID, given that every day there is one area where we need everybody. Right. It wasn't like, okay, I have teams. So we ended up actually merging and we kind of killing all the squads. Everybody is working on everything. And then post-COVID, for the next few years, the focus was for us on profitability, right? Like how do we actually make the company profitable? And that's the direction we were going. We started, thankfully, we started fairly early in that journey before it kind of became quite evident that that's not really an optional thing in the Indian startup ecosystem anymore. But for that period of time, what we realized internally is that the best thing to do is to optimize for the most impactful thing. And that's the best way to actually ensure that bandwidth that we have available is actually being utilized in the best way. So for the last couple of years, the way the engineering team has been working is that we don't have squads, pods, or teams.
Okay.
We now are a fairly small engineering team. We are about 50 people, so not very large. And
You
then
went from 20 to 400 and now back to 50.
Yeah. And then we actually figure out that at that point of time, everybody is floating. And it's more project teams than product teams. And now, since we have achieved the COVID is behind us, we have achieved profitability. We've been profitable for 6 quarters now.
Congrats.
The focus is on growth again, and much faster growth. We are actually now restructuring back to squads.
Okay.
But the idea is fundamentally has always been find the right business outcomes and have teams aligned to that.
Yeah.
So over time, it has always been people who are at top of funnel, bottom of funnel, and trying to kind of optimize that on the consumer side and B2B side. It's fairly feature specific.
Yeah.
How do we prioritize short term and long term? At least now, my philosophy on it is a little more concrete. I would say in the last 17 years, it has been a lot
You
more
can now
fluid.
call it a philosophy.
But it's kind of become a little more consistent. So what I realized is that at the very core of it, right, and I'm going to go a little now on little background philosophy before I come to the actual answer. But at the very core of it, the question that I always had in my mind since we started the company is, what is the purpose of engineering? Like, why? What should the engineering optimize for? Like, why does the team actually exist? And if you really call yourself a technology company, right, which we do, then the answer kind of is very obvious. The answer is very fundamentally is that the engineering purpose is to make the business win. I said that in 2017 for the first time in our engineering all hands.
Cool.
And I didn't realize that like what I am saying is
pretty
going to
profound.
have like make a mess of things
No.
because I said the half the quote. Right. And I learned that a lot of these like inspiring single line quotes actually are a really big problem in life because they don't encapsulate the nuances of it. Like, I don't know, a lot of people may not know, right? Like when you hear the phrase customer is always right, like most people don't realize that that's just half the quote. Right. And a lot of people
What's
actually
the full
use
quote?
the full quote is customer is always right in matter of taste.
Oh, okay.
Right, which actually makes a lot of sense. That now you want to buy something which is yellow car, you buy yellow car. You have your taste is right, but that doesn't tell you the customer is always right, right? And that's a big nuance. And when I said the engineering is always made, a lot of people actually maybe took it as saying that, you know what, you do what business tells you to do. Right, and that's kind of a very simple misrepresentation of the fact that can happen. And then I realized that that's the distinction you really have to really really make. And then when you actually come backwards of that, saying that the purpose of engineering is to make the business win, then for business to win, it's not short term or it's not long term, right? It lies somewhere in that middle path of balancing both of them. And that's the purpose, at least, of engineering, and more importantly, the leaders within engineering, right? And how do you actually communicate what are the things which are non-negotiables, and then that has to be done for the long term. So that's kind of one part of it, of philosophy. The second part of philosophy is saying that why does technology really has this much value in our industry, right? You go to most of the companies and you will see engineers are definitely the highest paid people in most organization. And the reason is that there is a potential that the ROI on that investment is going to be significantly higher than anything else, right? So I can run a paid marketing campaign and a marketing team can come back saying, you know what, I'm doing 1:3 ROI on a marketing campaign. And you will be like, oh my God, I am so delighted. Thank you. Just let's expand, let's spend more. But the expectation from engineering has to be saying that, can I actually do 1:10, 1:100, 1:1000 ROI on the investment that is happening? And if you actually approach it in that way, and then combine these two philosophies of saying purpose of engineering is to make the business win, and the ROI of engineering has to be 100x, 1000x on the investment,
Yeah.
then the answer becomes very clear that has to be a bunch of things which are really big bets in engineering. And if you
Yeah.
don't really have those big bets, then engineering is nothing but internal services company, which ends up happening in a lot of organization. And even in Practo, there are points where we may have actually become that. But you don't really want that, right? You really want that, big swings.
Yeah.
So now how we approach it is that there are BAUs and there are things we have to do to make the business run. But every year my goal is that can we do 4 to 5 really big swings, right?
Yeah.
And these swings have a probability of actually hitting it out of the park are lower. But you really need to only have 3 to 4 really big swings. And even if you hit one out of the park, right, you have really justifies why engineering exists within the organization. So that's how we are actually finding the balance. That's how I actually explain it internally, saying that there are things that I'm gonna be at it for multiple quarters.
Yeah.
This is nothing is going to come out in a month. No value is going to come out in 2 months. No value is going to come out in 3 months. But I can show you some progress in that direction to the business, saying that something is moving, some signs are there, but the real value is only going to show up 9 months later.
Okay.
Right? And you just have to get good at making sure that at least you have 25% success rate. I think that's good enough if you're really taking big swings, because those are the ones which really make the needle move.
Okay. How do you get your rest of the teams, and sort of how do you nurture your tech leadership to align with these values, to align with this philosophy?
To some extent, I have been lucky that, and also there has been some conscious choice at the time of hiring itself for us to really identify the people who have similar thought process. But at least for building the culture, I think there are 3 things that really matters as a leader. One is you have to be like a broken tape recorder. All right, you have to keep repeating it. Like some people may find it, and there are always this 5% of people in the team who finds it extremely irritating, right? That you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, because these are the people who get it. These are the people who are like, I have imbibed it. Please stop telling me this.
I have a T-shirt for this.
Yeah, but for the rest, you have to, and that's kind of one way. The second thing is that you have to show. Right, you can't tell. You can say the things, but if your actions don't really reflect that, if you're not able to stand saying that, what, for this particular functionality, it's okay if it's going to take us 3 more weeks. I just want you to do the right thing. And if you're not able to give that opportunity to the team every once in a while, then you're not really building that culture, saying there are certain things where I should be able to convince the business that what's the right thing to do is. And the third thing is, and at least my approach for doing it is just throw them in the ocean every once in a while, and let them swim. Like, you don't let them drown. You always pull them if you feel like that it's gone too far. But my approach has always been to push people really outside their comfort zone, really in things that they think they can't really do. And I think that kind of accelerates the learning really, really fast.
That brings me to something that I have to know. How do these people you throw into ocean describe you? How do your direct reportees describe you?
I don't know. I think you will have to.
How do you think they describe you?
Yeah, that's it. How do I think they will describe me? So I think a lot of people will describe me as somebody who is in most of the places I don't talk a lot. So maybe that's
Thank you so much for making an exception today.
But then when I start talking, it's very difficult to make me stop. That's kind of the other side of the equation.
You don't need to stop.
That they will describe me mostly as somebody. I hope that somebody they can come to and really have an honest conversation. I think that would be the top of my thing, and I have tried my best to be able to do that. And if I'm even succeeding more than halfway there, I think it will be worth it.
All right. Okay. And people who were in the ocean and either you helped or there's there's Some
Most of them
reference.
have some. Most of
Yeah.
them are heading a lot of large engineering teams by themselves now
Good. Yeah.
out in the world. So
Mm.
that's actually one part of my journey has been very fulfilling to actually see these individuals. A lot of them I got as part of Practo engineering team fresh out of college more than a decade ago. A lot of them are actually today, driving very large engineering team in some very great organizations.
Do you go to NIT Surat for hiring?
Every once in a while, not every year, but we do go every once in a while to NIT Suratkal for hiring.
All right, cool. Okay. If you didn't start Practo, I know you were thinking of doing a startup anyway, you also worked with your seniors. What other ideas have you sort of
Oh, we
looked
did.
at?
Before we
What you
started,
be what would you be starting if it was not Practo?
as- it's very difficult to really say. One of the things that me and Siddharth actually, my other co-founder, we actually kind of on the days which were the darkest in this journey, because there has been more hard days than easy days
Yeah.
of building this company so far. Um, at the- in the early days of Practo, like me and Siddharth used to joke about, right? Like, why are we doing healthcare? Right? We should be doing a gaming company, right? So I think maybe that would have been the other thing, right? Like if we are not doing Practo, there's a very high probability that me and Siddharth would have actually started a gaming studio.
Oh, Shashank
Both
is pulling you guys back.
Shashank actually really wanted to change the world. We just wanted to have a lot of fun at that point in time. Yeah, because both of us were very passionate about it. We loved video games. We played a lot of it.
Yeah.
And at various point of time, we really actually, and there are a bunch of our hackathons where internal hackathons where people were actually building like really useful things, and me and Siddharth would be actually building a healthcare inspired video game.
What console do you have and do you get to play now?
I actually have a Xbox. I also have a Switch. I am actually not switched on my Xbox for more than a year now.
Oh,
But that's not because of work. I had a kid last year. He's now 10 months old.
yeah. That's a full-time job
Yeah,
itself.
so I have not even switched on the Xbox in
Maybe
last 10 months.
once your kid is
I
3,
do
4
try
years
to
old.
take the Switch and kind of that's a lot easier, smaller
Yeah.
commitment. I can just pick up, it's a handheld console. I can pick it up and like play Zelda for 15 minutes here and there, but that's kind of the max gaming I get to do these days.
All right. Okay. Now, you mentioned this dark days, and so that's a question that I've been kind of postponing. How do you be, attached to this single agenda for what 17 years now?
17 years now, yeah. Yeah.
How do you keep yourself inspired? How do you say, dude, no, focus?
Actually, we did a annual letter video recently. It just
Alright.
came out on LinkedIn. And Shashank and we were talking about this. And somebody asked us the same question, right? This is a very common question. One of the things that we actually, when somebody asks this question, is the question we ask the question in reverse, saying that why do you think 17 years is very long? The average age of a company in Japan is 52 years.
Okay.
Right. So we really, for us, 17 years.
What is median there?
It's definitely very fairly higher than that. Right. So we really believe that two things, that 17 years may seem a lot, but it also is not a lot for the kind of problem that we are really trying to solve.
Yeah.
A bunch of things that we really wanted to do was technically not even possible like 2 years back.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
Yeah, right. Like till GenAI happens and LLM happened, like we only had ideas and we couldn't even do it. So for us to really able to do what we really wanted to do, we knew it's going to take. Actually, to be honest, okay, I'll be honest. I thought that when we started Practo, that 15 years, I'm going to change the industry and then move on to my next things. 5 years in, I realized that who am I kidding? I will have to do this for the rest of my life if I really want to make a dent.
Yeah.
And then what really keeps it going is Shashank has a very good way of looking at things, right? failure is when you stop trying. That's how we define failure internally at least in Practo.
Okay.
And for us, we don't want to fail. Then you keep trying. It doesn't matter what happens. And that has been the goal. That's kind of one part of it. The second part of it, a lot of people like really fundamentally ask that how do you find meaning, right? And if you find meaning, then it gets a lot easier. And what I realize is that it's not what you do that gives things meaning. It's how you do it and which gives it meaning. Right? What I mean by that is you can be doing anything. If you're doing it really well, right, meaning comes out of it. And then it becomes a lot easier to do it. So in Practo's journey, that's how at least I have seen it. That Practo's motto, right, do great, trademarked. We trademarked it in 2011. Actually came from that philosophy. The philosophy said that if you do your best work every day, right, you're going to enjoy life. Right. And there are people, and you don't really have to worry about the outcome. You don't really have to worry about what will happen. If you really put your best foot forward every single day, which is hard. But if at the end of the day you ask yourself, did I do my best work today? And the answer for if that is yes, you in 100% of the cases you will be satisfied at the end of the day. Right.
It's going very Gita for me, but
yeah, very, very much philosophy from there. But that's kind of thankfully, and I don't know where it comes from. It comes very naturally to me. So that's how I have looked at it. That I have to just do my best work every single day, and that's why it hasn't felt like work. And 17 years to be very like sometimes even I think that this like it doesn't feel like it's been 17 years we have been doing this.
Very cool. Okay. Now, I don't know if you do read Gita, but is there something that I wouldn't find on your LinkedIn, and I look at your LinkedIn like I can't guess, hey, this person is so philosophical, or this person is into gaming.
Yeah, I think one of the things that let me actually talk about something that I haven't talked about much outside. One of the things that you wouldn't find in LinkedIn and realize that I actually read a lot, and I mostly read fiction.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I don't read a lot of non-fiction. Even within fiction, I actually only read fantasy.
All right.
I would have read. Right now, I am closer to about 400.
Oh, cool.
Fantasy novels.
What are the last 10 books?
Actually, I'm. So one of the greatest fantasy books of all time, which is The Wheel of Time, which is the TV series that came on Amazon Prime right now, which got cancelled. I was very excited about that. Finally, somebody is attempting to make it. That's actually generally considered as the greatest fantasy novel of all time. I always wanted to read it, but I never started it. And I was always afraid to start it because it's 14 books.
Okay.
On average, every book is about 700 to 800 pages. So it's a big commitment. And I've been kind of avoiding it for the longest period of time. But I finally said that, what, I have to read it. I can't call myself a really big fantasy novel and fantasy genre fan, and have not read Wheel of Time. So I started reading it. Okay. So if you ask me what your last 10 books are, those are the last 10 Wheel of Time books.
Not series of books.
I have been at it for now 2 years. I'm in book 11 right now, so I'm getting closer. 3 more books to go, and hopefully then I will be done. But I have not read it continuously. I had read the first 2 books, and then I was like, okay, I need to read something else. I can't really read 14 books at sequence.
Tell me names of those books then.
Some of the books that I have really enjoyed in recent time in fantasy genre is there is a series called Stormlight Archive, which I'm reading right now. All the books are not out yet. It's by an author called Brandon Sanderson. That has been actually very, very good. There is a very short fantasy book. It's not very deep fantasy, but it's a very delightful book that I really enjoyed. It's called The House on Cerulean Sea.
Okay.
Very interesting, charming book. Very light read. But I truly enjoyed reading that book. So those are the kind of book that I really kind of every once in a while you find like really these gems. who are like very interesting and conceptually like very, very.
How do you discover your books?
Most of my book discovery happens on Reddit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm part. I am part of the Reddit fantasy subreddit.
Very
That's
cool.
where I find most of my next books to read.
All right, we'll do a quick rapid fire.
Sure.
See where we land. I think most of your answers are already there, but we'll still do it. AWS or Azure?
AWS.
You just said you want to stick to Azure for your video business.
There's certain parts we have to. Yeah.
All right. ChatGPT or Gemini?
Actually, right now enjoying Claude more.
Oh, okay. Even for
Non-coding use cases,
Alright,
I
okay.
actually like the way of write the responses, the way Claude writes it a little better. I think depth may be better in Gemini or ChatGPT, but the quality of just written words are better in Claude.
Okay. All right. Java or PHP?
I still am like everybody in my engineering team hates me for this, but I still enjoy PHP. Every once in a while, I go and write it. I still feel that it always was. It's not. I don't think it is anymore. But at least a decade ago, it was the most accessible language that anybody could pick up and build products.
Maybe JavaScript has taken that place now.
JavaScript has taken that place, but some of the products that I truly look at and see and things that it has achieved scale and that thing are PHP products. Like
Yeah, I think the Apache mod PHP made it
really easy.
Really easy. Was there a Apache mod JS at any point?
No. I think by the
Came
time
too late, right? The Node thing came too late.
Node thing came, and that was much later. I think most people will not remember.
Tabs or spaces for you?
Spaces. I don't know who these people are who are using tabs. It's like obviously, yeah, I have a very strong opinion. Huh? Yeah. You use tabs?
Golang is all tabs.
Yeah.
Largely. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Hire for skill or culture? You already said culture, but
culture. Yeah. Actually, to be very honest, there is also a nuanced answer to this.
Yeah.
I think it has to find some right balance. I think it kind of gets a little murky that culture without any skill is useless, and the other way around also is the same. So you really have to find, there has to be some minimum bar. But if you really say it's like 51-49, I would say culture still wins over skill.
Remote or hybrid?
Hybrid. Actually, we are right now full on every day in office. Okay. All of us at least enjoy it. I'm maybe forcing my team into it right now a little bit, but it has its own value in how the culture actually spreads.
I agree.
Right, and at least if you are hiring and growing the team, it makes a lot more sense to actually have everybody in.
Build in house or buy off the shelf? You've probably done
core, build in house, everything else buy off the shelf.
MVP fast or perfect product? Remember your tagline.
MVP fast every single time, no doubt.
Remember your tagline? No? Okay. Logo, that was the first programming language. My question was answered. Do you want to change it? No.
No. That's what I still recently actually went back to it.
Oh,
really? Just because you can actually now ask ChatGPT to write the logo interpreter, and then you can actually write word in it.
Oh, very cool.
This was fun. It was actually fun to actually go back and really, I mean, you can't do much. You can just draw things with mathematical expressions, but it was always fun too.
Okay, cool. What do you like more, debugging or writing new code?
Debugging, yeah.
Okay, I think we still have a record of everybody saying debugging.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll meet somebody who says writing new code, but okay. Biggest tech regret?
Biggest tech regret? I'll have to think about this. Maybe I should have thought of this before. Biggest tech regret? I don't know. In tech, I actually really have that deeper regret. When we were moving to microservices architecture, I really wish I had put a lot more tight control on what a service really is.
Okay.
I think we built too many services that shouldn't have been services.
Have you
and that is we're consolidating now. It's been a painful process. Yeah.
Most overhyped tech trend, not microservices.
It definitely was one of them, but blockchain. So many people actually kept coming to me at some period of time saying how blockchain can change healthcare. and pitching me ideas. Like we have stopped talking about it now
Oh, yeah.
completely.
Maybe it will come back. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, maybe it will.
That brings me to another one. For startups, right? There are a lot of these advices flowing in. You rightly said, "Hey, don't look at half the code; look at the full code." What is the most overhyped startup advice that you want to correct now?
At least in Indian context, I think it's
Yeah.
very fail fast.
Hmm.
I think is a wrong advice in Indian context.
Oh, you
Yeah.
don't want people to fail, right?
Yeah, I mean, learn and adapt,
Yeah.
right? Like fail fast is a concept that really works in an ecosystem where there is a lot more opportunity for you to try again. I
Yeah.
don't think us as a country right now have reached that maturity where mistakes you can fail and then go and try again. Like failure is still treated as failure, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not as learning. So I think that's maybe advice
We haven't
for
reached Silicon Valley
Silicon
status
Valley
yet.
status where you wear the failure as a badge and walk
Yeah.
around.
I'll switch gears and look at some recommendations and inspirations that have affected you. Apart from Shashank and Siddharth, who are the mentors or sounding boards? And maybe we should include Ajit from Rediff, who have influenced you.
Um, so there are a couple of people who definitely stood out apart from, of course, my co-founders. One person, his name is Indus Ketan. Indus was actually one of our early advisors. He used to run accelerator back in the days, in 2009, called Morpheus.
Yeah.
Actually, there are a bunch
Morpheus is like it's a cult.
Yeah, Morpheus is a cult, of course. Like we were there, HackerRank, Ola, and a bunch of us in the early batches. He has been very instrumental. Actually, he in the first 3-4 years of the company, every time I needed something on how to, because I had no clue. I was fresh out of college. I have not worked in any engineering team, not run any team, never managed people ever in my life. So it actually, he was there in the first phase. And I think in the second phase, when we were scaling, I think Roy from Sequoia Group, right? He was very instrumental. I actually went to him for a lot of things on how to really build structure, how to really processes, how do I really run a large engineering team. A lot of learnings actually came from him.
Very interestingly, I have so many common connects with both of these gentlemen. I have never met them or interacted with them.
Yeah?
I was just talking about Indus yesterday with one of my colleagues, late night call. Like he has worked with one of his companies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Maybe we
very
should
good.
invite them on
You
the
should,
pod.
if he's now in Valley, but if he's in town next time, you should definitely. He will have a lot of good stories to tell. I mean, a lot of people don't know, but Indus actually wrote the first spec for RSS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was his first name for fame.
Very cool. Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
At all. Okay, cool. Okay. Who are your go-to people for learning tech? Who are you following on Twitter? Who are you, especially the new GenAI stuff?
It keeps changing. It's very difficult. I don't even know. I follow some 3,000 people on Twitter. I don't know how to actually now tell you. Because every time I see a good tweet, my philosophy is just follow. Right?
Okay.
So there are a lot of people. I think over the years, there are a couple of people who definitely have been a little more instrumental. I always like Martin Fowler's writing a lot.
Yeah.
The kind of clarity he has in a lot of thought, a lot of things are very inspiring. I actually really enjoyed a lot of writing from Salvador. I think that's his real name, Antres, who actually created Redis. Because Redis is actually one of my when it came out. I don't know about
known
today.
as anti-res everywhere,
Huh?
right?
Yeah.
His handles are anti-res or
It's
something.
anti-res everywhere. Yeah. So when Redis actually came out, at least I always found that product to have. It was like a fresh air, like breath of fresh airs in all the tech
But
products.
you're not a big fan of Memcached for that.
I actually have used it quite a lot. I had some good, some bad experiences with it. I still remember that I literally have to actually write C code for Memcached, which was the only time I had to really learn and write C. Because there was some bug in the code and
Yeah.
I really needed to fix it. But it was really fun because I actually really literally read the 100% code of Memcached.
Okay.
Good times. But but the like things which are conceptually things which are extremely complex, explained in a very simple way, is kind of places where I find a lot of inspiration.
All right. Cool. Now, last question for you this time. You started from college when you were engineering. What is your advice to engineers who are thinking of starting up?
I actually have changed I've changed my answer recently. I tell most people don't do it. Like if you really, unless you're 200% sure, don't do it. I've seen a lot of
Unless you
people.
can give it 17
Yeah,
years.
not even 17 years. Like even a year. A year is hard, right? The
Okay.
first year is hard. Like I tell people that you really doing a startup and starting your own company is the most painful way to live life, right? Right, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I used to be like I should inspire more people to do it. Now I have become little as I've gotten older, my philosophy maybe is changing a little.
Yeah.
I don't do it.
Do it only if you can.
If you really
See
really
the pain.
sure that you really want to do it, because and the reason is that in most of the stories that exist around startup world are these stories of successes,
Yeah.
right? Which is just 1%.
Yes.
For every one successful starter, there are like 999
Maybe
failed
more.
ones, right?
Yeah.
Maybe more. So then, if that is the case, then you have to have very high conviction that you really want to do this, because it is going to test all your limits, right? You can't be good at one thing and really do it. When you start a company, at least for the first few years, you have to do everything. Like when we started the company, I was the customer support for the first two and a half
You
years.
also did a lot of sales, right?
Yeah, I
Till
did sales. So you have
2022.
to go do everything, and you can't be in your comfort zone. But if you are still really convinced and you really think that yes, I have something and I can actually go and do it, then I will tell them that just focus on the value that you are creating. Right, that's one part of the equation. If you get right, like everything else, you can always figure it out. But that's the part where you need to spend. They're saying that, am I really like as the world exists today? Because I have done something, the value in the world has gone up. If the answer to that question is not yes, then the chances of you really succeeding is very low.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been, let me say, a lot of new philosophies put very succinctly. Thanks again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.